All right, all right, all right, all right. You can't make this shit up. Welcome, Kellen Clark,
Howdy, y'all.
Joel Huxley, and David Washington, your host on today's edition of You Can't Make This Shit Up. We want to thank John, our producer from 7th Legion Multimedia here in Central Florida. Hey, we are your political innovators here at Jay in Washington. You are watching the Jay in Washington Network. And today we talk about communists.
They're everywhere.
Look out.
Yes.
Look out. Um,
So, David, we're going to talk about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis because he suspended the voucher program of 4 private schools in Central Florida, accusing them of having direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party. The school denies the accusations. However, there is Chinese ownership of the schools. Representative Anna Eskamani supports the school. And how deep is this school's ownership of the Chinese Communist Party? So let's go.
all right. Kellen, you have a little backstory in regards to
Yeah.
this.
So this school isn't directly owned by the Chinese Communist Party. It's not directly owned by a Chinese company. It's one of those cases where a company has partial control of a company. That company has a partial control of a company. That company has a partial control of a company. And that company has partial control of the school. Partial. It's so many times removed that while many people on the Republicans, like Ron DeSantis, are saying that we're stopping, the influence that China could potentially have on our youth, many, like State Rep Anna Eskamani, are suggesting that it is a politically motivated move to show the world on the nationals, to show the national stage that he's tough on communism, and this is just the route that he's taking, whether it hurts the schools or not.
When did communism become an issue in 2023? Did I miss something? Are we back in the Cold War? I understand the war.
You guys
Go
brought it
ahead,
up.
Joe.
You guys brought it up. The Democrats brought it up. If you guys had not tried to tie, Donald Trump to some conspiracy with the Russians, we wouldn't be talking communism today.
Okay,
It's
okay,
the charge.
good point.
It's the charge that it's the charge. Those charges that all of a sudden bring everything towards the front because now the general idea is that instead of the term being liberal, it's now socialist, communist. So trying to tie the party back to the communists. So every time we dive into this communist stuff, it's all to gin up that hate, the Cold War again. So that's how I perceive it, and I don't know how you guys do, but it all goes down to if it works, stick with it.
Yeah, I kind of see it as Republicans Russia, the same way Democrats will always try to lead um, Republicans back to Russia through whatever means it takes, whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's anybody, whether it's McConnell. They always try to find some connection to the Kremlin, and the Republicans try to find some link to Beijing. It's a weird game of trying to out accuse the other side. But what weirds me out about this whole situation is I see it as kind of part of the pattern, part of DeSantis's broad national strategy. And that is, we did it in Florida. I did it in Florida. I did it already, which is a good strategy. You can actually claim, you can have a record that says that you're tough on communism. You can have a record that says you're tough on this and that and that and this.
Right.
It's why our tax dollars are getting, some of our tax dollars are getting exported to Texas for their border to show that he's tough on immigration. We're shutting down schools that are linked to communists to show that are supposedly linked to communists, so that we can show we're tough on communism. We're showing that we're showing Ron DeSantis is showing that he's pro-military. He has a private army now. It's a
Good point.
I see it as a broader strategy of doing everything that would somewhat make sense on a national stage here in Florida to try to help his election campaign.
until the courts push back at one instance or
course.
another, which is happening with a lot of the legislation that the Republicans in Ron DeSantis administration pushed in the last legislative session. From the standpoint of the school and the students and their parents, um, they state this creates a security and safety issue for them because this just kind of dropped on a Friday night or a Thursday night or whatever with this statement by the governor and then the subsequent actions. And I would have some concern. Again, the students nor the teachers or administrators, according to them, are not members of the Chinese Communist Party. They know that there are no affiliations to the CCP, and there's that fear of pushback from the various members of the community who may see this, may read about it, may hear about it, and say, "Oh my God, there's communists living amongst us," when they've always lived amongst us. It's there is the Communist Party here in Florida. There's not either.
But you make a good point. Absolutely, but Anna Eskamani is defending this only because it's political, because she has no sympathy for the charter school system and school choice. So this
But the
this is
schools,
where you can automatically say, hey, Anna's defending something politically.
well,
As,
two of the four schools are in her district, and she does personally know either staff or parents or students
yeah,
from that
because she's a
school, right?
communist. She's a socialist communist, and they're in her district because who represents the socialist communists? I mean, come on, it's perfect. You led that one, David. You got me into that.
It all makes sense now.
It all comes together now. And
You
I
can't
know
make this shit up.
you can. Even as Kellen stated earlier, the company that eventually owns the four schools is so far removed. It originates out of Hong Kong. Um, However, this is still a fresh story, and there's still more information that's out there that needs to be released by the DeSantis administration to
Oh,
tell us why now.
when we're gonna
The
when
schools
we're
have
gonna
been
open up when we're gonna open up the internment camps? I mean, we need a place for these communists to gather. I mean, that's the, I'm being negative, but that's so true. Like,
It's in
haven't
the
we learned
Florida
from
order.
our
Turning back
mistakes?
time.
right. I just know there's more information in what compelled the governor to first investigate these claims of uh, Chinese communist influence, and for him to make this decision. I would like to see more of that information so that we can all make a better um, decision, a better, informed opinion about this particular issue. And if it is more nefarious, I'm using that word a lot lately. If this is a more serious situation, then we do need to look at it closely.
I once caught a fish that was this big. It really was about that big, right? But this is just we're we're making mountains out of molehills. We're taking things to the nth degree on both sides, and it's getting us nowhere.
But
This is just simply nitpicking the thing.
but
Look what they did to Vivek last night. If you go back and you watch our coverage, you will see Vivek's ties to China, or they try to villainize him because he's on TikTok. I mean, for me, that means that much. But for the Republican Party today, that's a huge thing. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, but also with Ramaswamy, they also ragged on former business dealings that he directly had.
that's
This
correct.
was Ramaswamy doing this. This is a little different with the schools because the schools, it's their owner of their owner of their own, a partial owner of their owner of their owner.
Right.
That is that I'm not even certain they would even know at that point
But do you
that the
know
ladder
how?
goes up to Hong Kong. I
But
mean,
do you know how you're talking about the same thing with Ramaswamy? Because technically, it's people that actually put investment into his pharmaceuticals, and these are being blamed for these people that decided that they could make money off of where Ramaswamy was going. So you're talking oranges and oranges here. Just the separation might be closer. It's simply go after anybody that has anything to do with China because we're not going to let them buy land. We're not going to let them do this. But listen, those deals with foreign, countries, they're property purchases that wouldn't be purchased here in the United States. So,
Mhm.
so all of this comes to the point where are you really helping your economy, or are you looking down the road actually destroying an economic resource? Because then you can't buy overseas.
I I'm concerned about the actions taken by the DeSantis administration and the level of transparency in their investigation to make this decision. I want to see why these four schools were investigated and thus the subsequent actions by the administration. Yes, we've had the CCP infiltrate our law enforcement. Let me take that back. In New York, there was an alleged, Chinese Communist Party police station in New York. In other areas,
Okay?
TikTok is a again, it's a good example. Uh, uh, TikTok that we have here in the United States or in the West is completely different than what they have in um, in China. China is our number one economic ally and our number one world domination foe. And so I get it, I get it. However, there needs to be some transparency in
And
the
that's
this.
That's huge, David, because you make a great point for our audience. We're in the Sunshine State. We have sunshine laws. We have all of this stuff. So where
Right.
did this decision come from? No, I mean I'm not wagging on the administration. I'm just kind of in the middle with you in the fact that, hey, tell me more. Tell me what's going on because I don't care if there's only one Chinese owner, then we've overstepped our bounds. And if it's because they donated way too much to Anna Eskamani, just be open about it. Because I mean, that's the only reason we went after Disney was because they decided to talk against some legislation. Let's be honest about what we're doing when we make these decisions.
and
It-
and the schools themselves have had a very strong problem with it too. They found out at the same time the rest of us found out. This
right.
was another thing they noted. They were not sent in advance. The government did not tell them this was going to happen. When they they announced it to the entire world at the same time that they announced it to them, which I mean that beyond any any other theories you want to pull up, that's just unprofessional. Like that's just
Sure.
poor conduct. Like if you're going to take these actions against school, kids go to that school.
I
Parents are
understand.
putting their kids in that school, and you're announcing effective now the school is shut down, but there was no warning. Now that leads to so many more problems that in advance would have just stopped.
Well,
It was unnecessarily fast.
they're unable to receive the school vouchers that
Yeah.
were expanded. Whether it was a good portion of their income or revenue is another story, but I'm sure it was. My concern is the pushback on the AAPI community, and again, what parents fear, what staff fear, what the students fear is negative repercussions of this decision that so far lacks transparency. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That
at the end of the day, I mean, it is a simple case of the Florida government jumping the gun, the Florida government keeping secrets, the Florida government going after somebody without clarity. It and I think and that's why I think the conspiracy theories about it all being a politically motivated
Mhm.
thing to show the national stage his communism stance, because there's no deeper explanation provided by the government. So what do you leave people with? To come to their own conclusions, and this is the conclusions that people will naturally come to.
And let's go down the hypothetical road here, the what if role. What if DeSantis releases additional information about this investigation and his decision, and it turns out there is cause for concern? Where does that put politically Representative Anna Eskamani after showing such strong support for the school, for the parents, the staff, so forth and so on?
This is exactly where you go, okay, we need more information, like you said. Who's gonna end up being on the wrong side of this issue? It will be either the DeSantis administration, or it will be Anna, who will, suck up the negative publicity on it. I think Helen goes a little bit stronger than I would say with his absolutes. I think that, look, you have to react to certain things in a very quick manner. If it's going to harm some children, or if it's going to harm somebody, so the government has that obligation to protect us. So they do act quickly, sometimes without notification. But I'm not going there yet, because I want, like David said, I want the facts. They did this for a reason. If they did it for political reasons, boom. If they did it for a real reason, then I can, at the end of the day, I can consume it. But this is just odd. And so again, you can't make this shit up. You're right, Helen. David's right. And there's just no real good answer yet.
Yeah, and it's fine, like, if they can't give a full explanation the day of, but we're coming up on a week now. Like, very soon, we're coming up on a week with dead static. I mean, this was done days before the debates, where they talked about China relentlessly, and we still don't know. And it has me concerned that we still don't know. Why do the parents there not have the right to know? We tout ourselves as a state where the parents have all the rights that a parent could want, but now they don't know why they're not receiving their money that the government promised them to send their kid to school.
Right.
It's just, it's such a mess.
As my final word on this, my sentiments are similar to both what you and Joel just said. Transparency is so important in this particular matter, because we have a school's reputation, we have the safety of its students, staff, and parents to take into consideration. There needs to be more answers in regards to what led the DeSantis administration to make this decision, and we all should be following this story and be concerned about it. That's my final word, gentlemen.
Well, they kind of nailed it on the head there.
Mhm.
We need transparency in government, and we deserve an answer to why our schools, which we've been trying to make as free of this crap as possible, we wanted to have the most rights to the parents. Now they don't. Now they're not receiving their promised money. Now we don't know what's going on with schools, and the timing does not help the situation. If there is a good explanation, then that's great. But it would be better if we knew now as opposed to later.
Amen. Joel?
Well, I agree. This is one of those times that I think I stuck right with you, everybody, because this is beyond mind-boggling. But we'll need answers. Please pay attention to what's going on. If you have insight, please let us know. If you know more because you've seen something, let us know. I just want you to like. I want you to comment, subscribe. Just be part of our audience, because we want to hear from you. Thank you so much for this excellent conversation, David and Kellen. And you can't make this shit up.
Thank you, everyone.